Hello again, everybody, and welcome to Warriors Walkoff on HBC TV 25. I'm Justin Barrientos. Thank you for joining us. We are brought to you by Russell and Associates, and this week we'll start off by talking softball with head coach Greg Jones, who is a very happy person right now because the announcement came on Monday that the Warriors qualified for the NCAA Division II National Tournament. They'll be going to Oklahoma to take on Rogers State. Your thoughts on that after a crazy NSIC tournament, being able to continue your season in the national tournament?
I'm just thrilled. I'm thrilled for the kids. They deserved it. They've really fought back this year. It's great for the university and the community. And it's really good for the program, obviously, going forward and things of that nature. So it's really a big day for everybody. This, is not something that happens every day or every year. And we've been very, very fortunate over the years to make it more often than not, but you never take it for granted. And sitting on the bubble where we were all weekend was made for a long 24 hours of waiting. And so I'm really happy for the kids to have this opportunity.
Well, you've ended up, at least right now, with 40 wins on the season, which congratulations. That's another great accomplishment. You get the 8 seed where you are. You take on the number 1 seed, Rogers, who's hosting in Oklahoma. What happens now? I mean, we record this on Monday. You play on Thursday, and usually you're kind of bogged down with travel and trying to figure everything out. But from what I understand from you, that's all out of your hands. And right now you just have to wait until you get direction.
Yeah, I think that's the hardest part is you kind of lose control a little bit. And so the NCAA will determine whether or not we fly down or bus down, when we leave, what those connections look like, where we fly out of or where we fly into. They'll have a couple of us because Mankato State is traveling as well from our region to go down. They're in the same pool we are. So I don't know if that'll factor in or not. I don't know if they'll try to fly both of us at the same time, if they'll fly one and bus the other, and again, I'm not real concerned about it yet. Obviously, it has a big bearing on everything, on when you're leaving, and at least classes are done, which is really nice for our kids. But trying to figure out practices and meals and hotels and even your personal life and trying to tell your kids when you're going to be gone and organize everything on the home front just makes it challenging right now as we're kind of in limbo. But I said to our assistant coaches last week, I hope we're stressed on Monday because that means that things are going well, and here we are. So it's certainly a better stress than worrying about if I'm going to mow the lawn and when we're going to turn in uniform.
Well, May 12th at 4:30 p.m. you take on Rogers, as we said, which is the number 1 seed. The other pairing in your part of the bracket is number 4 Minnesota State against number 5 Washburn. That will be 2.5 hours before you play. So you may know who the possible opponent would be. After all that is done, it's double elimination in that part of the tournament. So obviously you have to lose twice and then advance. And then after that, you would face the next part, which would be super regionals. And the other part of that is Central Oklahoma, Augustana, Arkansas Tech, and Southern Arkansas. So the NSIC is well represented in this tournament this year.
Yeah, I think it speaks very well to the power of our league. And again, it was a really interesting start from where we came from this year. And some of the scores were very uncommon to what we're used to. But when I talked to the team about it this morning after the show, I said, you guys earned your way in. If you look at some of the other brackets and pairings of who's in, those were teams we beat. Southern Indiana's a number 1 seed. Saginaw Valley ends up getting in. We beat them a couple of times. Drury's in, who we'd beaten. Grand Valley, Lindenwood were games that we played. And so there were a lot of teams in there that in Missouri and in Florida, we end up having really good games against and had beaten. And then the way we played really from the time we came home from Missouri, which was basically our conference schedule, we played basically 800, softball, the end of the season. And so from where we started to where we were, we knew it was about growth. And when you really look back at it, how far we came is really a testament to our kids. And so at this point, it's not about predicting where we're going to end up. We're happy to be where we are, but I think we're still hungry and still growing. And so it's just going to be interesting to see where this thing goes.
I'm going to kind of break one of the journalistic things here and ask a question that I don't really know the answer to or know the direction in this. But when you're putting together the early part of the schedule, especially when you're traveling to Florida or you're traveling to Missouri or wherever it is, when you're scheduling tournaments and scheduling teams, are you trying to schedule teams that you might be facing later on should you make the NCAA tournament? Because you mentioned all the teams that you did play that made the tournament. Is that intentional?
Yes. And every year is a little bit different. You're putting your schedule together with a couple of things in mind. One, you really want to test your team and figure out who you are. You're also trying to get yourself prepared for postseason play, because the non-conference schedule is the only thing we can control. The conference schedule is done for us. We know how tough of our conference is, but then that's the other piece of it. How tough do you really want your schedule to be? You want it to, I mean, it's already a meat grinder when you get in the 30 games of the conference schedule. You don't want to be worn out by the time you get there because of having to go through it, on the front side 26 times. Yet at the same time, you want to make sure your team is prepared. So it's a little bit different every year. We've already started talking about it. Coach Tischer and I have already started talking about next year's schedule, because we'll have to put that together here over the next 3 weeks. And some of the mystery is you don't know what your team's going to look like next year yet. You have an idea, but you don't know what those freshmen are going to look like. You don't know, what you're trying to teach them. Are you trying to learn to win all over again? Or are you trying to build off of this year's run? What's your real thought process as you put that together? And then there's some things even about geography of how much do you want to be on the road? And because we know we can't be at home until late March anyway. So how much traveling do you really want to do? And how much of an effect does that have on your kids, knowing what your travel schedule may already look like in the NSIC? So a lot of things that go into it. And some of it's guesswork and some of it is best laid plans, because you can try to put together a really tough schedule and then those teams aren't as good this year as they were last year. Or you can put together what you think is kind of a mediocre schedule, and then those teams end up being really good, because you don't know what they're going to have from year to year either. So it is kind of a jigsaw puzzle as you go through it. The calming piece of it is it's relatively similar each year, because you know what your 30-game conference schedule is. You're going to go to Florida. And so it's really kind of picking things around those events. So I'm already stressed about it already. So trying to figure it out for next year, but I think this year it actually ended up working in our favor.
All right, well, we'll kind of go one step at a time here. We actually need to go back a little bit, because I want to recap how you got to the NCAA tournament by going through the NSIC tournament. And you told your team that they really earned their way into the NCAA. And that started out with game 1, where you're down to Concordia St. Paul, and Riley Stout and Libby Neveu really saved you by hitting big home runs, including a grand slam by Libby Neveu. Talk about that first game in the NSIC tournament against Concordia St. Paul and how that kind of set the pace, I guess, for the rest of the tournament.
Yeah, and I think the first step is just getting to the NSIC tournament is daunting. I mean, not getting there, but once you get there, when you're physically in the environment, because suddenly everybody's there. And it's just like, okay, there's all these buses, there's all these people, there's all this atmosphere and all that type of thing. And it's great. But it's so much easier to compartmentalize during the season, because it's just you and another team. And all of a sudden you feel like, okay, we have to beat all of these teams. And the reality is you don't. You just got to play the game you're in. And so kind of overcoming that part of it first, that emotional juice that comes with the tournament is that first burst is hard. And Concordia came out of the gates hard. And their first couple of at-bats, we just couldn't get the ball by them. Foul ball, foul ball, foul ball. We couldn't miss any bats. And finally, they work a walk on their leadoff hitter after a really long at-bat. And it was just, I think that was offsetting to us. Like, okay, normally we kind of start where we feel like we're in control, and suddenly we lost control of the first hitter. They end up putting up a couple of runs in the first inning. We turned a big double play at the end of the first inning, kind of normalized it. And I thought, okay, let's go out and score. And we didn't. Then they put up 3, and suddenly we're pulling Liz out of the game. Mm-hmm. And my thought process is, okay, if we're going to be in the losers bracket, this is way too long of a tournament to not have her, to have her just throw the rest of this game. Plus, I thought Abby was going to be a better matchup, and she was. She really normalized everything for us, allowed our offense to get going. I can safely say I never saw a 6-run, 6th inning coming. When we hit that first home run of the inning, the 2-run homer, I thought that was a rally killer. We got the hit, we got the home run, we're still trailing, and you feel, God, now we got to put a whole inning together. To put the next 3 on base and hit a grand slam was just, it was an amazing feeling. The energy completely turned almost for the entire weekend on that moment. So that was a big time hit, and Libby's had a couple big weekends now in a row. On her swing is really coming, and so that was a big hit for us. I think it kind of really turned the tide for the whole weekend, actually.
And then something very interesting and obviously something unique to softball is that Liz was able to come back in that game and get the save. Talk us through that decision about putting her back in the game after you had to yank her out.
Well, when we got the 2-run homer to get it close, I walked over to our dugout and I just looked at Cindy, my wife, and I gave her the number 2 and 4, which is Liz's number. And I said, what do you think? Kind of shrugged my shoulders, and she shrugged hers back. And she said, you want her to get loose? And I pointed at my head. I said, I want her to get in her head that she might go back in. And so then Cindy went and talked to Liz, and I saw Liz taking her jacket off. And I thought, okay, so they're stirring in there, and whatever. Well, then we put the inning together. We take the lead, and I know all we got to do is get 3 outs. And who better to get 3 outs than, Liz at this point, who's been a dominant pitcher all year. But what I'm battling in my head is what I saw in the first 2 innings wasn't Liz. Oh, it wasn't the Liz we'd grown accustomed to. So I didn't really know if I wanted to do it. So we had her warming up in the bullpen. I sent Cammie, who's has done a lot of catching for us this year, but wasn't catching that game. I sent Cammie over to watch her throw. I said, tell me what she looks like, because I was blind to where the bullpen was. So then she comes back and gives me a report. And so I thought, okay, I'm going to let Abby go out and start the inning. And they were going to be 9-1-2. And I thought any outs we can get without Liz is a plus. So she gets the first kid out. I think they're 8-9-1. She gets the first kid out, then the next kid gets a hit. So now they're at the top of their order. And to me, it was no decision at that point. We're not going to lose with Liz sitting next to me on a bucket. We're going to put our ace back in. Top of the order. There's no reason for Abby has done everything she needed to do. She doesn't need to win the game. That's Liz's job. And Liz went in there and she was a different kid. She was the Liz we knew. She had power. She had juice. She struck out the first kid. And then you're just like, okay, let's go. Let's just get one more out. They got a couple more kids on, but I really felt pretty comfortable that she was going to get the job done.
Very good. We got a couple minutes left in this segment, and I don't want to gloss over these things because there are some very interesting games. You got an electric win over Minnesota State. Then they lose to Sioux Falls. You have to play Sioux Falls later on. You drop a couple games to Augustana. What was the rest of that tournament like for you?
It was a great tournament. It was a great weekend. Well, I really felt like we needed to get to the championship, and that's a lot of pressure when you feel like you've got to do something. We tried to keep the team away from that thought, but as a coach, you're thinking that's where you need to get to. So you're just trying to win the game you're in. Once we won the first game, the tournament normalized for us from the standpoint you could compartmentalize. Now it's just you've been in the environment. It's just, okay, let's go eat. Let's come back tomorrow. We're going to play Mankato. And Mankato is so good, you're not worried about the rest of the tournament. You're just worried about playing Mankato. To get another grand slam in that game and knock Ward out of the game was just kind of superhuman on our parts. I just, Ward is so good and so talented, and we're going to have to see her again this weekend, and that's an incredibly daunting task. It was just one of those days where we were hitting it and it worked out in our favor. And then obviously the watch Sioux Falls and Mankato play. You're trying not to cheerlead because it's not like we wanted to play Sioux Falls either. They were the hottest team in the tournament. They'd come all the way back through. We didn't want to play Mankato again because we had just beaten them. We didn't really want to play either one of them. But all you can do is say, all right, let's just play whoever's in front of us, and to go out and get the early lead in that Sioux Falls game, I thought was really big. But I was really happy with how we played all weekend. Obviously, the last game got away from us a little bit, but But I just thought we did exactly what we needed to do. We put ourselves in position to get into the NCAA tournament by playing well all weekend and advancing all the way to the championship game. And we've been fortunate enough to win a lot of games in the conference tournament in my time here. I think this was our 12th championship game. We've won 6 of them. We've lost 6 of them. But to get there that many times is special for the kids and the school and the program.
All right, May 12th, Thursday, you face off against Rogers State, the number 1 seed in the Division II tournament. Kind of briefly, final thought, how does going through a rough and tumble NSIC tournament set you up for the NCAA tournament?
I think, I don't want to say we're set up very well. I think going through the tournament really helps you get set up for that. Now you've been in a tournament format on top of it. Our half of the bracket has enormously good pitching. Rogers State pitcher is really, really good. They've been ranked in the top 5 in the country all year. And they're the number 1 seed for a reason. They beat us in extra innings last year. Having Ward down there with Mankato again makes it tough. Obviously Liz down there. So it's a pitching heavy group. Washburn's down there who won the MIAA. So there's no easy game. It's just, you got to grind it out. So going through our league has, I think, prepared us as well as we can be prepared. It's really about who plays the best softball now down there. And the nice part about it is the winner only has to win 3 games. And so you've just got to go down there and get hot, and anybody can win it. I don't think being the 8th seed deters us from that. So, but it's also a tougher climb as well. So we'll just see what happens, but I'm happy to be there. I think it's anybody's weekend, and hopefully our kids are ready for it.
All right. Well, congratulations on making the tournament, and good luck Thursday, Friday, Saturday, all the games that are ahead of you.
I really appreciate it. Thanks so much, Justin. We're looking forward to it.
All right. Thank you. And we're going to take a break here on Warriors Walkoff. When we come back, we'll talk with Warrior baseball coach Kyle Poock right after this.
Meet Jenny Siseski of Edina Realty. With nearly 30 years' experience, she knows that right now is the best time to sell your home. Jenny will help you get top dollar, higher than ever before. With today's low interest rates, it's time to upgrade your home and increase its value. High demand and low inventory also make this a perfect time to list your home. Call for a free market analysis. Contact Jenny Siseski at Edina Realty today, 507-458-7038.
And welcome back to Warriors Walkoff on HBC TV 25. Time now to talk baseball with head coach Kyle Poock. And Coach Poock, congratulations to you. We said last week all you had to do was kind of take care of business against Concordia St. Paul, and you would be in the NSIC tournament. Not only did you get in the tournament, but you moved up. You're the 5th seed in the tournament, and you'll be taking on Minot State on Wednesday. Tell me a little bit about getting into the tournament. This is going to be your final tournament as head coach of the Warriors. And how important was it to get one more seed up to 5th seed?
Yeah, well, the seeds don't really matter. We just want to get in and stuff. So, but being a 5 seed is a good situation to be in, except, if you win your game, you're probably playing the number 1 seed, but you got to beat them somewhere along the line anyway. But it was a good accomplishment for our guys, because we kept talking, and guys that know my program know that we really set up our schedule early against really good teams to find out what we need to do to get better, show our guys what really good baseball is. And then we work on it all year to make sure we're playing well at the end of the year. And I think with the last couple of weeks, we played pretty well. We got ourselves in a position. The preseason coaches poll, which I've said that I don't take much stock in, but they picked us 7th and we finished 5th. So the interesting thing is all the teams ahead of us, 1 through 4, we played those teams. The teams that were behind us, where we couldn't have possibly got more wins, we missed out like 8 or 9 games against teams that were below us in the schedule or in the standings. So if you play those, you kind of figure that you would have maybe had a couple more wins, and maybe, I don't know if it would have got us to the 4 seed or not, but it was, guys played well, stayed the course, kept working hard, and did a good job and got us that 5 seed.
You know, you mentioned it, and we talked to Coach Jones earlier today about his preseason schedule, kind of setting him up for the end of the year. Kind of walk us through how you built your schedule and how you decided what teams you were going to play early on in the season. Are you basing it on teams that have a long history of success, or are you basing it on who's good recently that maybe will make the NCAA tournament down the road?
Well, we know in February, we're always going down to Missouri to the MIAA to play those teams potentially. And those, the history down there is good. We used to play Central Missouri for years and years, haven't played them for a while, but we picked up Missouri Southern this last year. We've been playing Drury, who's in the Great Lakes Conference, one of the top teams in that league. So I'm always looking to play those top type teams from other leagues early in the year. Even though we're coming out of snowbanks, don't even practice outside before we go play them. And this year kind of showed with our young squad. We took our lumps in those first 2 weekends. We're 0-6, but you can see flashes. And then when we go to Florida, same thing. I have programs down there that I know the coaches pretty well. Florida Southern, Florida Tech. We used to go to Lynn University all the time. And those are teams in Florida who are usually in the top half of their league. And we always make sure we play 1 or 2 games against those. And then the Russ Matt tournament, I always tell the guy there I want to play top teams from other regions as well. So we get Ashland, who's played Seton Hill, who was in the World Series last year. So we're going to play the best competition we can. And again, I'm not worried about our 1-loss record at that point. When we get to the conference, that's what counts, and that stuff really prepares us for that.
All right. Well, as you said, the team took their lumps early on in the season, but when it counted, especially against Concordia St. Paul, you were able to get a 3-game sweep over the past weekend. Tell us a little bit about how those games went.
Well, our hitting really, the stuff that we've been working on all year long really came together the last week. We went 4-5 last week, won 4 out of 5. And even the game we lost, we hit the ball good. We just didn't get the clutch hit that we needed. But and it's a good way. Our guys were getting fired up because they knew if we won the first game that we probably were going to be in for sure. Then what happens with game 2 and 3 will just solidify our seeding. So they just came out and just started swinging the bats. The second game we had to go extra innings, but we did a good job in that. Faced a pretty good pitcher from Concordia. But then Saturday, it was just right from the get-go, you could tell that our guys were focused and they wanted to get it. And they knew that if we got that win on Saturday, we'd probably be the 5 seed rather than the 6 or 7. And so they came out swinging the bats, and our pitching did a great job all weekend.
Do you feel like that last game against Concordia was kind of a statement game for your team to say, hey, we're a good team, we're going to be a problem in the NSIC tournament? You won 15-2.
Yeah. It was a really nice day finally, and it was like 70-some degrees. The sun was out, and our guys were happy to play, and we didn't have to wear mittens and hats and long underwear and stuff. So they were ready to go. When we got on the bus and I could tell when we got on the bus that they were ready, and I knew we were. I didn't imagine a 15-2 10-run game in 7, but I knew we were going to play well and see what happens.
All right, let's talk a little bit more about the tournament then. It's in South Dakota, so you have to travel to that. And as we said before we tape, you're going to head out there Tuesday afternoon to be able to play on Wednesday. You play Minot State, who you were 1-2 against in the regular season. I know you don't really do matchups all that much, but you have played them already this season. Yeah. So what do you know about them, having played them, and what do you have to do to be successful in that first game?
Well, they got 3 really good pitchers, so so I don't know which one they'll pick to pitch against us, but they got Martinez and Apodaca, and I can't remember what the other one, and they're all left-handers, and so we've struggled a little bit at times against lefties. But we've done some things in practice yesterday, and we're going to do today with our pitching machines, which can simulate left-handed breaking balls and stuff. So we'll work on that. Again, we're just going to focus on doing what we do best: play good baseball, minimize errors, and minimize big innings, and give ourselves a chance to win. We got Nick Harold on the mound today, or tomorrow, Wednesday. And he's been our ace now since we took him out of the bullpen and put him in the rotation. So hopefully he has a good game and he can hold them down and give us a chance to get a hit here or there and score some runs and give us a chance to win.
Now, it's a double elimination tournament. And so this game against Minot, how do you approach it, considering if it's a close game, if you're within striking distance, how do you approach this game as compared to games during the regular season?
Well, this one, you're going to use their pitching staff to win. I know a lot of teams have in the past, and I've seen it happen where they think the first round game, they're not going to throw their best arm because it's saving for the later round. Well, we're going to line them up 1 through 5 and get after it. We'll use our bullpen, but we'll kind of watch and monitor how we're doing our guys with innings and pitch counts with our bullpen. But we're going to we'll be all in to win game 1. And then after game 1 gets done, then we'll figure out what we're going to do with game 2. We still haven't decided who's going to be that game 2 guy between our 2 and 3 guy. Because Kyle Jenner, our 2, he just threw last on Friday and he's coming off the Tommy John. So we're going to talk to him at probably see how his arm feels, because sometimes he needs a little bit more recovery time in between. And if that's the case, then we'll probably go with Cameron Kramer. But the bullpen guys know they got to be ready to go because they could be used almost every day. So.
Well, Kyle was able to get the win in game 1 against the Concordia St. Paul series. Went 4 full innings and pitched very well for you there. In determining the game 2 starter, does it matter if you win or lose the first game, who you're going to throw game 2?
No. We're gonna stay right in order. We'll go right in order. It doesn't matter, because if you lose, you got to win. So you got to throw whoever your best guy is, and if you win that first game, you're going to play the number 1 seed probably. So you got to have that guy in. So yeah, so I've learned that a long time ago, that you get your guys set up for conference tournament. Hopefully, the way you played on the last weekend, you're able to go 1, 2, 3, 4, and that route with your guys.
All right, we got a couple minutes left in this segment. I do want to ask a kind of a cliche question, just because you're on a 3-game winning streak as you head into the tournament. Do you feel like you're playing your best baseball of the season at this point?
Yeah, actually we are. I think the last week and a half, 2 weeks, we've been playing pretty good. I think we got our lineup solidified. We had moved a few guys around a little bit, but I think it's our best lineup right now when it comes to hitting, where we got guys 1 through 9. Defensively, because we've had to make our second base has been a thing all year long, because we had a starter got injured, so we had to put a new guy in, and when he was getting comfortable playing a lot, then he gets hurt and he's out. So now we're on our 3rd second baseman, but he's played Josh Hawksford. He's played really well. He's starting to hit the ball. You can see he's more confident. And like I say, freshman, you're no longer freshman at this point anymore. Now you're a college baseball player. So get out there and get after it.
Well, yeah, Josh Hawksford now on an 11-game hitting streak. So yeah, he has definitely really played well in this last half of the season. Wednesday, 12:30 is when you play against Minot State, and then your games on Thursday depend on whether or not you win that game against Minot. So congratulations on making the tournament, and good luck in South Dakota.
All right, thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
All right, and thank you for watching Warriors Walkoff here on HBC TV 25. We'll see you next time.